Charlene.
And I'm Wayne.
And we're from Foundations.T4L.
We are part of the New South Wales Department of Education, ITD.
We help schools reach digital greatness by determining which technology best suits their pedagogy.
We help teachers use technology as a tool for teaching.
And we work with school leaders to determine their ICT vision for their school.
We also work with students to help them use technology as a tool for learning.
For more information to Foundations.T4L, please click on the link in the down below.
Yeah, just down below there. Or if that's too hard, you can always email us at foundations.t4l@det.nsw.edu.au. Yeah!
And so today we are learning about Keynote on the iPad, one of my favourite applications. In case you haven't seen Keynote before, it looks like this. So little Keynote stand on that one with a blue background, and you can see that I'm hovering over that there. Of course, if you don't know where it is on your iPad, you can always swipe down and type in Keynote to bring up the application. And when you open, you land on this page here. So you can see some of my previous projects running along the bottom here. Yours might be blank, and that's okay because we're going to come up to the top here and press the plus button to start a new project. You can see across the top here there are different themes and templates for you to choose from. We're just going to choose a new black background one. You'll see why in a moment. So come on here, and the first thing we do today is we're going to delete all of these slides. We just want a blank slide. And what we're going to do is play around with adding in some photos today. So we're just going to come up, tap the plus button, and then we're going to import a photo or video from our device. Now I'm going to import two here, and I want to show you the difference between having a clear background and having a background that's a little bit more difficult to work with this tool that we're going to use called Instant Alpha today. So it's a good idea to have your students take photos before you begin this project, just so that they're not having to jump around between the camera app and the Keynote app. Now, as you can see, once these come into the slide, they do go full size, so you will need to readjust them so that you've got some space to work with. But you can, of course, leave them full size if you want. I'm just showing you two here as the example for us to work with today. So when I come up to the top onto my paintbrush, you can see a couple of different options here. When I select on image, I'm going to come down to this tool that I mentioned, Instant Alpha. And what this does is it blurs out, no, it doesn't blur out the background, it deletes the background for you. So it selects all of those single block colors, and then it will black it out for you, giving you a clear background ready to work with. And I'm sure you can see now why it's important to have a background that is all one color. You can see what happens if I go too far along, and you can't blur out all of the background. So on this one, this is a pretty easy example. Now I could make my photo bigger and get out those little bits as well, but this is just an example video today, and this is how you might show students in your classroom. Just take out that little bit there, and then once you're finished, you click the done button and you should be finished, ready to go. Now let's come over onto this second image and again select our tool, but you can see because I've got so many different colors in the background here, I have to use that tool again and again and again, and I get little pockets of color that are popping up. Now this is why we chose the black background for our slide instead of a white background or a different colored background. Not that you don't use those, but it looks really, really strong against a black background, similar to the way that we use drama props. When I want to add in another photo, I just come up to the top, press the plus button. Now I've got lots and lots of options in here, so you can see add photo or video. I can actually add straight in from the camera, and we can record audio as well. I would recommend doing that in a different application though. You'll notice that there's no insert from the internet on this one. This is not a web-enabled application. So when I come in, I'm just going to select another option here, but one of the options that you might have for your students is for them to do a drawing of perhaps a character or a background or something like that, and they can take a photograph on the iPad. Now because drawings are usually against a white background, or they might be on another coloured background piece of paper as well, you can really easily use the Instant Alpha tool to cut them out and get them animated, as I'll show you in here today. Now just while we're up in here, if we go back to select on the image and arrange, we can actually flip our images around, so students are easily able to change the way that their images are presented. So I'll just flip that around for an example today. And now let's get started on the animations. to animate, we need to select the image that we want to animate first, and you can see it brings up a range of options across here, most of which you'll be familiar with, but on the end is the new button, Animate, and of course that's going to open up our animation tools box. Now you can see there are 3 options here, so you can build it in, and that is where we're going to start to introduce the characters coming through. We also have actions, and we can layer those actions in across the top, and then we've got a build out which makes them disappear for our story. So if we jump over to the build-in option, I'll select the meatballs and bring it in. You can see there are tons and tons of options to use along here, and if you slide the bar along the bottom, you can see that there are more and more options. Now, full disclosure, your students will want to have a play around with this. They will try and use absolutely every single animation. My recommendation to you would be to give your students a sandbox time, let them go to have a play, because once they understand all of those tools and the way that they look on screen, that's when they can start to get really creative with their characters and really creative with their storytelling as well. I think for this one today, we might actually head back over and select the drop-in box, because I wanted to drop onto a table, and I'll show you how we're going to do that at the end of the video as well. When we're done, we click done, and up the top we can preview our animation. So click on the screen and ta-da, our meatballs have dropped in. Fantastic. Let's go back, and this time we want to animate Butter coming in. So my story is going to be Butter has smelt some meatballs and he is going to come along to eat them. So once again, tap on the image, tap on animate. We're going to build in because we want to introduce the photo coming through here. So once we select on the build in option, again, give your students a chance to have a play around with this, because they'll be able to select from lots and lots of different options. I'm going to get Butter to be very excited when he comes in, and so I am going to select the spin tool. Awesome. Okay, let's go back and check that to see how our animation's going, and you'll start to see how quickly this builds up into a little animated scene. So we start, and meatballs should drop in, and after that we'll get a very excited pug coming in. Look at that, you can already start to see the links that can happen for writing activities as students bring their own stories and their own characters to life as well. The next step that we want to do is we actually want to go back into Animate, and we're going to add in some actions now, and we're going to add them in as steps, and you can add multiple actions in for an object in here. Now in my story, I think Butter might get a little bit excited about this. Oh, I can smell those meatballs. And he is going to sniff his way over. Now I need to add those in as 2 separate options. So you can see that I've added in the pulse to come through. And then when I select on the image again and animate, I can now come down and I can actually add in some additional actions. So once more, I'm going to tap on my plus button, and my story says that Butter needs to come and sniff. So I'm going to create a path for my character to follow. And all I have to do is draw along the screen with my finger, and you can see the red line will indicate where the path is here. Now, when I get Butter to there, it will give me a little preview of my animation, and you can see where I start and where I finish, so students needn't get lost. Now if we want to add in another animation, have a look. Oh, he's going to get so excited, so he's going to follow his path, and then he's going to jump with excitement at the meatballs. Now, if I want to go down and check my animations that I'm using, I can always do that. So I come down the bottom and I select in here. I can see that I've got multiple, and when I click on it, I can see all of my animations in order. Now, this is a very simple animation tool. It's not over the top. It's no Procreate or anything like that. But what it does do is it enables students to A, bring their own stories to life. B, it allows them to understand the very basics of coding by adding in their animations in the sequence that they want them to appear. And I'll show you how we can start to shuffle those things around as well. So in my story, I want Butter to eat all of the meatballs, and then I'll actually animate those out toward the end. Now you can see that we're going to have our start and finish path, so we can see where we end up, and then Butter does his little jiggle at the end. So go through and add that in, and it looks like we are done. He's very excited. There we are. We can see the full lot of animations in there. Perfect. Looking really, really good. Now, when we are done with that, I want to select my meatballs, and you can see that they actually don't have a lot of actions ready, but what we want to do is animate these out now because Butter has eaten them and is excited about it. There we are. We'll just get them to fade out, and then we can click our Done button as well. Okay, select the picture, select animate so that we can animate Butter out, and if you scroll all the way to the end, these are the exit parts that are going to get a workout in your classroom. And why shouldn't they? They are so much fun. So you can see we can disappear off, we can explode, we can go out in flames, we can disappear in flashes. We might have Butter disappear into another dimension today. Off he goes. Beautiful. Now, I'm going to show you how I would do this with the students in my classroom as we play it through. So I'm going to narrate over the top as we press play and get started. And I'd really encourage my students to write a script for this so that they can read and read with expression. They're reading for a purpose as well. And that way they really, really bring their stories to life. Now, if I were in a classroom, I would show the animation, but I want to skip on to the next part, which is the drawing tool. And I want to show you that this doesn't all have to be bells and whistles and animations. It's actually got a really simple drawing tool, this Keynote app, and you can see it on the right-hand side. So I just select plus, and then I select drawing, and you can see it brings up all of my different options for drawing down the bottom. So I can select my colors, and what I might want to do is provide some context for my story. So we might change it to start as one sunny day, and you can start to see here again really, really effective against the black backgrounds. I might draw a table for my meatballs to be dropped upon, and you can see now why we really need to animate these objects before we put in the drawing, because we want the drawings to be placed in the right spot, and it's much easier to draw around our animations than it would be to animate around our drawings. Just add in some steam marks onto here, and you can already see this is providing a really simple text that students can engage with really, really well. So let's get started. One day, Mr. Forbes dropped some meatballs on a table. Butter came in. He was so excited. Meatballs, he said. He sniffed his way over to the meatballs, jumped with excitement, and then gobbled them all up. Nom 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 nom. Ah, yes, delicious meatball snacks. The meatballs were all gone, and Butter disappeared into another dimension. So that's how I would model it in my classroom. You might choose to do something different, and that's okay. What you probably notice though is that the meatballs were hiding Butter. And what we can do is we can go back into our animations, which are called builds, and we can get the meatballs to react on that animation where Butter is coming in to eat them. So you can see here, if I just duck into my animations and tap on them, they've got different options. I can redo them, I can delete them, I can shuffle them around in order, but what I'm going to do is tap on my meatballs, and then I actually want that to happen with the last build so that when Butter gives a little wiggle, we can see that those disappear on the screen. And the best way for you to figure this out is to actually jump in and have a play and see how all of this works together. Now, while we're previewing, you've already heard me narrate this, so I won't do it again. What I will talk to you about is the difference between recording audio in Keynote and recording your audio in iMovie. iMovie's much easier because it allows you to split the audio, to detach it from the video. It allows you to shuffle it around and play it at different times. So if students do different takes, they can do different things. And I would highly recommend recording your audio sounds in the app iMovie rather than here in Keynote. But I actually think that we're pretty done with that. I think it wasn't too bad with a little 10-minute effort. When your students are done, they can save their project and they can rename it. Now, if they need to go back up, they can edit it. But if we come over here onto the ellipsis button, we can see that we can export our movie, and we can export it in lots and lots of different formats as well. So I usually export mine as a movie or save it to my camera roll and import it into iMovie from there. But you might have your own processes that you would like to go through, and feel free to follow those. But congratulations! You have just learnt how to animate objects in Keynote, and I really hope that you found it a useful little video.
Thank you so much for watching the video today. It of course featured the fabulous butter, and I promise you no puns were harmed in the making of this video today. If you would like to get in contact, have a look at the link that's on your screen now. Or you can always email us at foundations.t4l@det.nsw.edu.au. You can follow myself or Nolene or the Foundations team using any of the handles that are on your screen now. Have a great day.